I'm having a sense of deja vu here. Alright, so this episode of Doctor Who, the first episode of Series 12, Spyfall Part 1, how do I say this without coming off sounding harsher than I mean to? It's derivative.
So derivative, in fact, that in Europe it's considered plagiarized.
It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, and like I said, I don't mean to be harsher than I really mean to with this episode, because it actually is a lot better than anything we saw in Series 11. I would put it on par with last year's Resolution, where we finally got some Doctor Who writing that felt like Doctor Who. But yeah, I'm having flashbacks to Series 8's Death in Heaven, where we get a big reveal as to the big bad of the episode, and it's someone we've seen before. So so just very heavily having flashbacks to that. And, like I said, I don't mean to really kind of rip on it. So let me go ahead and get to the slideshow here, because we see like Ryan playing basketball, and he gets a visit from these men in black, and he's like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And then, of course, we get similar scenes with Yaz and Bradley Walsh's character, Graham. Yeah, so because Yaz is she's a officer who's on probation period, because she's new. So she really shouldn't be taking all these sabbaticals. And, you can tell that, they're prepared to leave on a mission, but, they're getting interrupted. So, this is kind of shades of what we saw with, again, Series 8's Death in Heaven, where something big is happening, and the Doctor is called in along with the companions, who basically they're trying to go ahead and recruit the Doctor. But things are a little complicated. Because it turns out that what we're seeing here is these guys all work for MI6, okay? And that's actually the big reveal that I'm going to give to you a little bit early, because their job is to bring in the Doctor and her companions. And on the way there, you can see she's actually working on the TARDIS from some kind of garage, which is kind of odd. And I'm not sure how I feel about this little scene here, because it just seems a little bit out of character. But the guys from MI6 show up, and they've got Graham, Ryan, and Yaz in the car, and so they're saying, look, it's in your best interest that you come with us. And the guy driving is vaporized by a death ray emanating from the GPS device installed aboard the vehicle dashboard. And you can see right here that he's getting vaporized, and the screen shows the word die, in 5 seconds, die. It's alternately trying to kill them with the death ray and also by driving them off a bridge. Eventually, the Doctor gets the idea to use a mirror to deflect the death ray back at its source, which you'll see in a second. But, here what we're seeing is a lot of action that we didn't really get to see in Series 11. And this is going to be a repeating theme here. And I do, beg your indulgence here, because the slideshow is going by a little bit more slowly than I mean for it to. But yeah, you can see that there's a lot of tension here. And of course, I get a message from the head of MI6C, played by none other than Stephen Fry in a guest starring role. Unfortunately, his role doesn't last quite as long as I would like it to, because I would like to have seen him return, but that's not going to happen for reasons you'll see later. So basically, he's explaining the situation to the Doctor and her companions. At first, he's taken aback by the Doctor being a woman and not a man, like Intel explained, and it's revealed that MI6 doesn't really handle a lot of things to do with alien goings-on. So they find an agent, and basically spies all over the world have been assaulted by extraterrestrial beings, their DNA being rewritten and turning them into basically empty shells for what we don't know, but they're no longer human. They just look human. So we don't know exactly what purpose this is for. The Doctor's got her serious face on. Stephen Fry's character is saying, look, the world needs you, Doctor, because Torchwood and Unit are out of the picture. So the connecting thread for what's happening to all these spies is a man named Daniel Barton. Now, he's basically running something called VOR, V-O-R. That's basically the equivalent to Google today. And it turns out Barton used to be a member of MI6 before he went over to the United States and cut ties. Stephen Fry's character is just about to reveal who he thinks Barton might be working for as a double or even triple agent when he's taken out by a laser blast. Then the crew are attacked by these beings that come out of the walls, literally, We don't know exactly what they look like, but they're kind of derivative of the two-dimensional beings that we saw in Series 8, like from the Boneless or whatever they're called. You know, they managed to escape, and they end up in Australia, where there's a member of MI6 who was let go by the agency because he was like big into like X-Files type stuff. His code name is O. Ryan and Yaz go to investigate Barton in San Francisco. The Doctor and Graham, that they end up staying in Australia, where the cabin that O is staying in is attacked by these beings, and they're kind of made of light, and they're also able, when they pass through walls, to kind of like take on the textures of whatever they pass through. So they manage to capture one, and it basically taunts them. They're invaders from presumably another universe, and they're basically taunting the Doctor. And she's trying to find out, you know, what they are, what they want. Yaz is disappeared by one of these creatures in San Francisco as they're trying to download files from Barton's computer system. And she finds herself in this realm, kind of like a forest of wires or really thick cables or something. Looks kind of organic or techno-organic, but the whole thing comes off like some kind of like, I want to say some kind of like neural pathways, like electrical impulses traveling and stuff. But then inexplicably, the being in the cage trades places with Yaz, because I guess they've gotten what they wanted from her. So they crash Barton's birthday party in San Francisco, and the Doctor confronts him about what she knows and trying to figure out information. Barton is not volunteering any information. You know, he decides to leave the party and try and get away by airplane, and you know, there's a brief car chase where he's like shooting at them, and they're on motorcycles and they're trying not to get hit by the bullets and stuff. And then they end up on this airplane, where everything ends up going to the big reveal as to the real big bad of the episode really is. And this leads into our two-parter. Now, all right, and so I'm not going to spoil the ending for you, because I want you to go see this and find out for yourself. I mean, it is kind of telegraphed within the last 5 or 10 minutes or so. My overall thoughts on this episode: we're seeing a lot of what we didn't get to see in Series 11, and it comes across to me like, I don't know, maybe the suits at the BBC, pulled Chris Chibnall aside and said, look, Series 11, you were just kind of going through the motions. This year, we really need you to go ahead and go back to basics, all right? Find out what worked from Russell Davies and Stephen Moffat's era and try and see if you can duplicate it. We saw a lot more tension here, a lot more action, stakes that were actually real and present, so it's a lot better. Now, it's not to say that it's necessarily going to be a hit with everyone, because a lot of my fellow YouTubers don't like Doctor Who because they cast a woman, Jodie Whittaker, in the role of the Doctor, and they're kind of still in a hissy fit over that and going on about woke politics. We're really not seeing much of that here. In fact, really none at all. What we're seeing is kind of like a return to basics, and like I said, I suspect someone at BBC must have pulled Chibnall aside and said, look, you really need to step it up for Series 12. Because Series 11 really did not resonate well with people who are used to seeing Doctor Who as being kind of like this science fantasy action series, and you really need to step up your game. So that's my overall impression of the episode so far. We'll see what happens, because right now it looks like Chibnall is starting big, and of course if you start big, you have to end bigger. So we'll see where part 2 goes and how the rest of the series progresses. I do hold out hope that things will improve, especially over last season, but honestly, I think if we're going to see any real progress on Doctor Who and getting better from the Moffat era, where he turned the Doctor into a Gary Stew and, just had this endless magic mystery box. I mean, I still think that they're better off doing more or less self-contained episodes and going away from that magic mystery box narrative trope, but you still need to tell good stories. And this one, in my opinion, went a long way towards kind of patching some of the things up from Series 11. It doesn't necessarily forgive the existence of Series 11, but it is better than what we've had previously. So obviously they've taken the year off and they've really stepped up their game with the extra time in writing. So we'll see what happens. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. Like this video, share it. If you want to help support the channel, keep the lights on, and help us bring you more content, head over to our Patreon or Subscribe Star page. We can't do this without you. Until next time, this is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report saying take care. Good night. I'm out.